internet. Welcome to the party, pal. My name is Matthew Kroll.
And if you're the kind of guy I think you are, you'll know when to shut up, when to listen,
and when to pray. Your name is Shahir Dowd.
I am Shahir Dowd. Thank you.
And this is the only podcast about movies. I knew when I should say something.
Yeah, that was good.
So that worked.
Good. Yeah.
And if you haven't figured it out, first of all, happy holidays and welcome to the only podcast about the film Die Hard.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
Can we say Merry Christmas or we post Merry Christmas now?
You can say Merry Christmas. You can say Happy Hanukkah. Happy Kwanzaa, is it?
Kwanzaa.
And then what else? What other seasonal solstice-based religious experiences are there?
I'm agnostic. I'm just like
happy annual gift-giving day.
Happy annual get drunk day. Eggnog day.
Happy.
I love eggnog.
Eggnog's dope. I wish I had eggnog. In lieu of it, I'm drinking whiskey.
Whiskey. You can put whiskey in eggnog, right?
Is there? Yeah, you can. You can. I don't like alcoholic eggnog, Shahir.
You don't like alcoholic eggnog?
No, it cuts it the wrong way for me.
So Christmas for you is an alcohol-fueled fun day when you sit down with your family to watch Die Hard.
Yeah, and that's basically, I mean, Shahir, we're film family, whether you like it or not.
It's you and me, buddy.
And
are we brothers? Are we mom and dad?
I think we're mom and dad, and I think that is very fluid.
Right, okay. Gender fluid.
Yeah, so I think that's how it works. I think that's the dichotomy. And I think for this film, I came to you.
Yeah.
And I said I wanted to do a Christmas movie. And originally, I had pitched Jingle All the Way, to which
you're like, no, I'm not. Look, I get the kind of irony of like a bad movie being fun, but
I love Jingle All the Way. This is not that podcast.
Right, we're not doing Jingle All the Way.
I know. Just kidding, we are. No. Switcheroo.
But this is our Christmas gift to you, dear listener.
That's right.
This is, if you're having a tough time today, if it's been a rough year, 2016 has been one for the history
one
books.
Long day for John McClane.
If that's been your jam, we want to share an experience with you, and that experience is Bruce Willis jumping off a building.
I gotta say, Die Hard is while Jingle All the Way is my favorite Christmas movie. I do think that Die Hard is the best Christmas movie.
What, listeners, if you could write us in and tell us what your Christmas movie favorites are.
Oh, yeah, and what you got for Christmas.
That'd be great.
What movies you got for Christmas?
Oh, yeah, what movies do you give people for Christmas?
Yeah.
You know, the funny thing is, as a guy who is on the record as loving movies, I think I've only ever been given the gift of movies once.
Really?
Yeah.
What was it?
It was Jamaica Inn, an
Okay.
Alfred Hitchcock movie, and Foreign Correspondent. My mother went to Australia, and she found VHS copies of those two movies and gave them to me.
Wow.
Yeah. Oh, no. Yeah, as for Christmas gifts, I've only ever been given movies once. And like, for me, that's a pretty easy gift.
I feel like when people buy me gifts, there's two defaults, a Blu-ray or a DVD.
Right.
Of basically anything, because I will take it and I will love it.
Right.
Or anything Spider-Man.
So Spider-Man on Blu-ray is like...
I honestly, I probably have 4 copies of the original Spider-Man film on Blu-ray. Yes.
If you would like to send Matt Spider-Man on Blu-ray...
keep sending me them. You know what we got to do?
Yeah.
We got to get a P.O. box.
Right. No, well, people can just send you like an iTunes copy.
No. I know that, but like something that a lot of podcasts that I really enjoy do is they get a P.O. box and people just send them random shit. Now, I don't want random shit from you, dear listeners, but like... Sometimes there's a lot of funny jokes and fun things that could be had, and we could talk about things that are movie based.
Are you just trying to get free swag?
Not swag. No. Maybe you're confusing me. These things aren't things you really want normally. It's just an interesting touching point going on to topics.
In lieu of a P.O. box, you can send us an email about the things the shitty gift that you would send us.
Yeah.
At onlymoviepodcast@gmail.com. Hit us up on Twitter at onlymoviepod, or go to our website, onlymoviepodcast.com. But if you don't have a gift, this is our gift to you. It's Die Hard, movie by John McTiernan.
Yeah.
Starring Bruce Willis.
Yeah.
And Alan Rickman.
Yeah.
And it's set at the Nakatomi Plaza.
Oh yeah.
Wait, before we do that, okay, let's talk. Let's break down Christmas movies, because I know there is the meme. You know, there are people that think Christmas that Die Hard is a Christmas movie, and there are people that are just wrong about everything.
Yeah.
So on rewatching this, I was like, I actually don't think this is a Christmas movie.
It is 100% a Christmas movie.
I think it takes place on Christmas. So to me, what a Christmas movie is something that embodies the spirit of Christmas, the spirit of hope and joy and optimism.
This whole movie is hope and optimism.
There is one scene in this film that has that in it, and we'll talk about it a little bit later. Although I don't know if we need to do spoilers or anything.
No, if you haven't seen Die Hard, stop this and go see Die Hard.
Yeah. But I actually do think that Christmas movies, if we're going to break it down by criteria, movies that are Christmas movies at the very core of them, to me, like one of the fundamental Christmas movies is It's a Wonderful Life. That's a movie I watched every year.
That's only because it was on.
No. I bought it and would watch it.
Well, that's silly because it's always on.
You know why I did that? Because it wasn't always on in New Zealand. Like the reason I did that is I picked it up as an American tradition because I used to watch National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation before, and they would always watch It's a Wonderful Life in National Lampoon's, and he was always pissed off that It's a Wonderful Life was on.
Right.
So that's where I picked up the tradition. Oddly, the tradition also included Texas Chainsaw Massacre. For some reason, I would do a double hitter of.
This is explaining a lot about you.
A lot about me. But I think It's a Wonderful Life is kind of a great Christmas movie. What are your Christmas jams?
I mean, obviously, Jingle All the Way. I think National Lampoon's is wonderful. I like a lot of movies. See, this is the thing. I don't think the movie has to be about
I think it has to. No, it doesn't have to. What I think.
Well, here's the thing. Let's look at It's a Wonderful Life. Real quick, okay. Does that really have to do with Christmas or an existential crisis that a guy is having around Christmas?
But the resolve of that movie is around the spirit of Christmas.
No, it's about the spirit of a human life and how much it means. And it really doesn't have a lot of Christmas to it.
Well, it's the ghost of the three. Not Christmases past, the old Scrooge story.
Sure, Christmas Carol.
But it's. I think the end of the film is about the spirit of giving that comes with Christmas.
I think it's more about the strength of a human life. I don't think
it takes place on Christmas.
No, I know, but this takes place on Christmas.
But here's the thing: is I don't think that this movie is about the spirit of Christmas. I think it takes place on Christmas.
I don't think It's a Wonderful Life is technically about the spirit of Christmas.
Really?
Yeah.
Really?
I think, okay, look.
Wow,
if we're looking at the spirit of Christmas, let's see if we can think of a film that embodies the spirit of Christmas.
I mean, I think It's a Wonderful Life for me is the one.
I'm trying to think
Love Actually.
You know what?
Love Actually. How about that? No, that's a recent one.
No, but let's
Lethal Weapon, like all the Shane Black movies.
Listen,
The Nightmare Before Christmas,
Iron Man 3.
Yeah. Home Alone.
Nightmare Before. Well, okay, Home Alone 2. But I was going to say Lost in New York.
1.
I know.
Yeah.
This is what I'll say. Let's go back to Jingle All the Way, because Jingle All the Way, as a atheist,
admittedly, I've only seen that movie once.
Is exactly basically what Christmas is about: the good and the bad. Basically, it's about the consumerist hunt for a toy that you've built importance around and lied to your child and said
but
you'd get.
But in the end, the spirit of Christmas takes over and gets the kid. Like, it's about a father trying to live up to his son, right?
Here's the thing: if you want the spirit of Christmas, is the spirit of giving, right?
No, I don't think it's the spirit of giving.
Well, it is. That's the only way I can relate it to Jingle All the Way, because
the consumerist version of Christmas. I think ultimately the Christmas.
Well, giving of yourself, giving of your time, giving of your love.
I think it's also like when miracles happen. Like it's the embodiment of the goodness of the world coming to play in a person's life, and that's why I think It's a Wonderful Life is a Christmas movie. That's why actually, if I'm only framing Christmas movies that way. And if I frame it that way, I don't think Die Hard is a Christmas movie in that sense. I'm sure people, because it takes place on Christmas Day or Christmas Eve, you can watch it as a Christmas movie. I'm not saying that what Shahir says is the absolute truth. I'm just saying that if we're gonna like try and come up with a paradigm for which to view Christmas movies, that's what I would say a Christmas movie should be.
I would say that both It's a Wonderful Life and Die Hard are testaments to the human spirit. They're told very different ways.
There's one scene which I think is the testament to the human spirit in Die Hard.
What scene is it?
Are we gonna?
You can say no. We don't.
It's like the second to last scene.
Oh, then all right. Well.
So I don't want to give it away right now.
Don't give it away.
We're gonna come.
Don't spoil Die Hard.
Yeah, I'm not gonna spoil Die Hard. He doesn't die, and it's not hard.
I just think a lot of people die hard. I just think that if a movie takes place at Christmas, it is a Christmas movie. And I just watched Just Friends. Have you ever seen that? The Ryan Reynolds and Amy Smart. It was a comedy. It was like a romantic comedy.
Ooh.
I used to really like it.
Make it on my list.
I was making cookies today.
Okay.
And
look at you.
I was watching that in the meantime, and it's funny because I remember liking it when I was a teenager, and obviously it's one of those comedies that sort of it takes that's a movie that I couldn't even equate to Christmas at all. And actually it falls into a lot of I was noticing they use a lot of language and shit that just is not fucking like good.
Right.
And I'm watching, I'm like, they shouldn't be fucking
Good.
throwing that shit around. Not poorly written, but just bad choices due to context. So like those are type of movies that like fall off and whatnot. But things like Die Hard, things like
but that's, I mean, I think that's a Christmas movie. It's just not a good one. Like I don't love Love Actually, but like that's the Christmas movie that, you know, for recent years that people seem to love.
I guess
a lot of people don't like It's a Wonderful Life. I just think It's a Wonderful Life is, admittedly, every time I watch It's a Wonderful Life, I'm like, this is a long fucking movie.
Well, yeah, because it is.
But every time I get to the end, I'm like, it really is a wonderful life.
Okay, well, every time I get to the end of Die Hard,
I'm like,
I'm just fucking pumped for Christmas.
I'm ready to die hard.
No, it's not about the title. It's about John McClane fucking giving the gift of stopping terrorism.
All right, let's do a quick overview. Well, obviously, Matt being Matt, I'm going to go out on a limb here and say you fucking love Die Hard.
Oh, I love Die Hard, but interestingly enough, I don't know if this is interesting. I'll take that back. As growing
Nothing
up,
we've said is interesting.
No, growing up, I didn't see Die Hard till I was in college.
Really?
Yeah, I was a Lethal Weapon kid.
But that doesn't like
I know
only Lethal Weapon doesn't
but
preclude
for whatever,
you. That's not how movies
reason,
work, by the way.
No, but in my head, a lot of times, weirdly, it sort of does. So, for instance,
so you only watch Lethal Weapon. You don't go to Terminator. In your mind, Lethal Weapon is the only movie that exists up until college.
Lethal Weapon and Die Hard, I feel like hit a lot of similar like feels,
right?
Not like emotions, but just like they're just sort of like it's the action movie of the sort of everyman, but it's funny,
right?
And for whatever reason, I had just seen all of the Lethal Weapons, and someone had described to me what Die Hard was and said, "Oh, it's kind of like Lethal Weapon," and I was like, "Oh, okay."
Right.
And I wasn't a huge Bruce Willis guy. Like, it just never clicked until I saw it, and I think Die Hard is a better film than Lethal Weapon.
Huh. I haven't watched Lethal Weapon 1 in a long time.
It's rough. Like, this is something I want to say about Die Hard, and we'll get into it in a little bit. Die Hard, surprisingly, for its dated technology and blah, 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 blah.
Oh, it holds up so well. There's only one scene in this movie which I think doesn't hold up.
Yeah, and it's shocking.
Yeah.
Like, I was watching it expecting to, like, chuckle more at the times, and I really didn't.
No.
So, I haven't really had a long history with that. I probably watched Die Hard when I was, like, 21, 22.
Right. Okay. So
what about you? How did you come to this?
So I watched Die Hard as a kid. I watched it very, very young, like inappropriately young, and I watched Lethal Weapon inappropriately young too. And me and my best friend Gary Rowe, from
shout out Gary.
Yeah, shout out Gary. I don't think he listens to the podcast, but
well,
maybe.
Is your best friend? He doesn't listen to the podcast.
Best friend from back then. You know, like he lives in another country now.
Former best friend.
Yeah, former
Gary.
BFF.
Write in if you listen and tell Shahir what's up.
Well, but we used to what we used to do is we would go to each other's house and inevitably we'd have some plan to do something that day, but inevitably we'd just watch a movie, and it would always be something that we had recorded off TV on VHS.
Oh, yeah.
And there was a cycle of them, and it was Lethal Weapon 2, Die Hard 2 for some reason, White Men Can't Jump, Terminator 2, all the Terminator, you know, like all
White Men Can't Jump 2.
White Men Can't Jump 2.
White Men Can't Jump as well.
Yeah. So I think we had Die Hard as well. So we had Die Hard 1 and Die Hard 2, and we would watch those in sequence,
sure.
I believe. Or at least I seen Die Hard many times. Many times. As I got older, I haven't watched it, revisited it much. But the thing for me is I know Die Hard 2 is not seen as like the great sequel.
Right.
It's directed by Rennie Harlin. And you know, like people laugh on Rennie Harlin. He directed Cliffhanger, The Long Kiss Goodnight. You know, he's kind of like the cheap imitation of John McTiernan, who directed Die Hard. But Die Hard 3, when I saw that in a theater, that blew my fucking mind. I thought I still to this day, I'm not sure that any number 3 of a franchise is that good.
Not counting the Cornetto trilogy. I agree.
Yeah, but in a sequence, yeah. I'm still kind of like not sure if the third movie in any franchise is as good as Die Hard with a Vengeance. Now, Live Free or Die Hard and Die Hard, those are hot garbage.
No,
they are.
Disagree.
Really?
Well, here's the deal. I think Live Free or Die Hard is awesome. I think the 5th one is hot garbage.
So Live Free or Die Hard is the computer one?
Yeah, the fire sale. Everything must go.
Oh God, I hated that. That to me felt like people who didn't understand what the internet was and like decided to make a movie about it.
You got to look at it from...
And it was like cyber John McClane. And like, what does John McClane have to do with this
He
anymore?
doesn't. This is the whole thing that was great about it. He was a fucking fish out of water, and he was like getting too old. He didn't quite understand things. And like
too old for this shit?
Well, no, that's Lethal Weapon.
I know.
But like, I really liked it. I felt like it was sort of a fresh take on it. 5 with his fucking
His son, Jay Courtney.
And I was like, oh, God.
The thing
God.
Is, and so watching those, I mean, I have seen
4 had a plot that made sense, even though it was... listen. The plot in the world they set up, you know I'm about world building, and the plot that they set up, Live Free or Die Hard, made sense.
Listeners, write in and explain the plot. It's been a while since I've seen it, but I remember it being hot garbage.
5, was it just called Die Hard 5?
A Good Day to Die Hard.
A Good Day to Die Hard. Ugh. My point is that movie had literal huge plot holes about why John McClane was where he was, and I was just like, "What the fuck are you doing?"
He was in Russia at that time, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, that's the problem with me for Die Hard is that they've traditionally, you know, like you should end on the third one. Die Hard with a Vengeance was the third one, and Die Hard with a Vengeance brought back Hans Gruber's family into the plot, into the thick of it, and it was great. It's amazing. I was like, man, just stop here, please. Just stop what you're doing.
I mean, I would have been happy with that too.
Because, you know, like I say, people don't seem to like Die Hard 2, but I really like Die Hard 2 because Die Hard 2 is the antithesis of Die Hard, which is that the villain character is not trying to make money. He's actually trying to, he actually politically believes.
What I love about Die Hard, the film that we're actually doing, is the terrorists as you're watching it, Hans Gruber and his band of merry men. I think there's 12 of them, correct?
Yeah. The Spirit of Christmas.
Yeah, the Spirit of Christmas. Their motives are cloudy for a while until revealed, even though they're saying one thing, they mean another, and they just want money. They have no political agenda, and yada, yada, yada. And I thought when I first saw it that was super fucking cool.
Yeah.
And like now even watching it again, I was like, yeah, like.
So here's a couple of things that I think are really interesting. In respect to that. So one of the guys, filmmakers I've been really on a kick about recently is Asghar Farhadi. I talked about him last year. Iranian filmmaker, directed A Separation, directed a film. I would argue it's probably the best film I've seen this year, even though it's a few years old. It's called About Ellie. It's on Netflix. Please go watch it. What was amazing about that film, and this is going to relate to Die Hard in a second, is that it's such a great example of setup and payoff. Like everything in About Ellie and A Separation is set up and payoff. You know, like he'll do something that's completely throwaway at the beginning of the film, but like, you know, 3/4 into the film, that becomes huge. And what I was watching Die Hard again, I was like, I would make the argument that the genius of Die Hard in an action film sense is that it is all story. It is not going for thrills. I mean, it inevitably has some because big things happen, but it never feels like this film is trying to show off how cool we can make things, which is something that happens in Live Free or Die Hard, where like all of a sudden John McClane is taking out helicopters with cars.
God, I fucking love that.
I hate that shit. And that to me is like a trailer moment, and that's not something that happens in Die Hard. Now, you could argue the scene where he jumps off the building is kind of that scene, but it feels organic to the plot, and it's set up entirely in the world of that film.
This is a movie where action happens. The action isn't the reason the movie happens.
Exactly. The story is set up. And like it starts right at the beginning, because the very first thing that happens in the film is he's on a plane to LA. He hates flying. So we know immediately this guy's afraid of heights. The second thing that happens is the passenger next to him says, when you land, if you don't like flying, what you should do when you land is take your shoes off and scrunch up your feet like fists.
Make fists. Yeah,
and that one line, which happens like I think 2 minutes into the movie, is a major plot point throughout the rest of the film.
Because he's not wearing shoes,
which I love. And what I love about that then is that it's all character building from that point. Like we get to see John McClane as a guy who carries his gun. He's a cop. He's kind of a wisecracking guy. And the thing that's really interesting about him is he walks into the room, and he walks into Nakatomi Plaza. He meets his wife Holly Gennaro's boss.
God bless.
And the thing that's really cool is like you can tell this is a guy.
I meant Holly, not the boss.
Oh right.
Bonnie Bedelia. I mean,
but the guy who plays his boss, the Japanese chair of Nakatomi.
Yeah.
he's a cop from New York and who's just been driven in on a limo, like at this guy's expense.
Takagi.
Takagi. And he's brought in, up to this beautiful, like waterfall encrusted floor.
Office building.
And he's entirely not intimidated by them. He's like, thanks, I appreciate the ride.
Yep.
Nice of you.
Yep.
Like that's who he is. And what's great about that is like you get everything you need to know about who John McClane is. He's anti-authoritarian, but he's also like...
But not a dick.
But he's not a dick about it.
Like, for instance, Snake Plissken walking into that situation, and I know it's different worlds, etc., but like Snake Plissken would just rip into everyone he spoke to with a one-line or whatever. But John McClane, while he is the equal amount of cool, he can also blend and sort of move between the things.
He's just a guy you kind of want to hang out with. But there's an interesting thing, which is that watching this film, I kind of watched it with a slightly different lens because I was thinking about where this film came in the history of action movies like this.
Sure. Well, this was the first everyman action movie, right?
Yeah,
really.
Well, that was the thing. It was the story of how Die Hard came to be is really interesting. It's based on a Roderick Thorpe novel, kind of a pulpy novel about a father who goes to visit his daughter in a building and gets held up in a terrorist situation, much like the plot of Die Hard. But it was originally going to be Frank Sinatra. When they were initially pitching, the novel's slightly older, Frank Sinatra was going to be cast in the John McClane role. That was around the period of the Towering Inferno.
Hans, you got to slow your roll. I ain't crooning.
New York. It might have taken place in New York instead. But then once the film got into development in the 80s under Joel Silver and Lawrence Gordon, who produced the film, these are the heavyweights of action movies. The film went to Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Come on.
Sylvester Stallone.
Stop ringing that bell.
Patrick Swayze.
I can't do Swayze.
You can't do Swayze.
No one puts baby in the corner.
Richard Gere, Mel Gibson, Harrison Ford, Robert De Niro, Charles Bronson, Nick Nolte, Burt Reynolds, Richard Dean Anderson.
Oh, Reynolds. Holy fuck.
Bruce Willis wasn't even like, and I'm reading this off one of these fucking
Bruce Willis was doing what? He was doing Buckaroo Banzai and shit.
No, he was doing Moonlighting.
Oh, that's right. This was before that. Yeah.
And the only movie he'd done at that point was Blind Date. Mm-hmm. Which was actually, I remember it being not an unreasonable film. It's kind of fun.
Yeah.
So it was, you were talking about action movies with big, extraordinary, hulking men. And then all of a sudden, it got passed on to Bruce Willis, this kind of like, not, prototypical action movie looker, slightly thinning hair, like older guy, wisecracking, doesn't seem like, like what we're used to. And the movie, I think, blows up because of that. 100%. That's the reason it actually becomes a huge deal. And then when I watched it, I was like, man, I like Bruce Willis.
Bruce Willis is so fun. I mean, so now current day Bruce Willis is still cool, but he's that like quiet cool now.
Yeah.
To
me, he is a modern day John Wayne.
Sure. Now.
Yeah. I think this
John
film.
Wayne. John Wayne is harder.
This film is actually riffing on westerns a lot of the time.
and they talk about him.
They talk about him, and I think...
What are you going to do, cowboy?
Yeah, exactly. That was Gary Cooper, not John Wayne.
Yeah.
I think now he is definitely a John Wayne, but I think it's interesting to watch this film as a paradigm of the western. Because
I don't think. Well, no, maybe structurally, but character-wise, he's 100% not Wayne. Because Wayne wasn't a smartass. Wayne wasn't like
Wayne was quiet and stoic, right?
Yes, I'm saying that's what Bruce Willis has turned into now.
Right.
I'm saying in this, there's nothing. There's some stoicism, but he's witty as fuck.
John Wayne in The Searchers, he wasn't necessarily witty, but he was biting, like he had a line for everything.
It's different. I really don't see it here. I don't see the analogy because this is akin to more of a
Who would you place in the western genre or even before that? He's definitely not Gary Cooper. He's not Cary Grant. He's not James Stewart.
Okay, this is what I think. I think John McClane and by proxy Bruce Willis is the natural progression of what the 80s action star was. Like you said, it was Arnold, it was Schwarzenegger, it was etc. And these are these big, larger-than-life characters that would say catchphrases. They'd be like, stick around.
Yeah.
And that sort of shit when he threw a knife into someone.
He still does that.
No, I know that. But what I'm saying is John McClane took that one step further. Yeah, he has some one-liners, but he has literal amazing banter. Like, he's a smartass. It's not that it's not like Arnold, like, I'll kill you last or whatever the fuck. It's now... he's saying things back and forth. He's having radio conversations. The radio conversations
are great.
that everyone is having in this movie, every person who's ever written a film that a cell phone is in should take fucking notes during Die Hard. Because I don't think I've seen a film that has had conversations over a talking device been more engaging.
They feel like real exchanges of power that are happening. You know, like they're really listening and responding to each other.
Yeah. Power or friendship or emotion, like there's depending on who's talking. Some of my favorite moments are when John McClane is listening to other people have conversations over the fucking radio.
I didn't realize how much of a Bruce Willis fan I am, like a fanboy of Bruce Willis. And I was like thinking about it and going back through his catalog of films that he's been in. And I was like, there are so many of these movies that are actually like favorite movies of mine. So if we go backwards chronologically, Looper, I think, is amazing.
Looper's wonderful.
Moonrise Kingdom, I think, is amazing.
Yep.
Sin City is amazing. Unbreakable is amazing.
You're a fan of Sin City, though?
I am a fan of Sin City. I'm a big fan of Sin City. Right. The Sixth Sense is amazing. Armageddon, I think, is beautiful.
Armageddon has a moment.
I think it has beautiful.
Had a moment.
It's beautiful pastiche. I really like it. Even though it's kind of cheesy and silly. Die Hard is cheesy and silly, but kind of beautiful. Die Hard with a Vengeance, Fifth Element, Pulp Fiction.
Fifth Element.
Pulp Fiction.
Oh, yeah.
Death Becomes It, The Last Boy Scout.
Death Becomes It.
12 Monkeys, and this is my favorite Bruce Willis.
Is the cherry? The cherry on the top?
This is
of the sundae of your Bruce Willis sundae. You're making a Bruce Willis sundae.
I'm making a Bruce Willis sundae. I don't know what the cream is in this, but my favorite, absolute, I think this movie is a barrel of laughs. What, you got any guesses what I think?
Got Buckaroo Banzai?
Nope.
Oh.
Hudson Hawk.
Oh, yeah.
I fucking love Hudson Hawk.
Yeah.
Oh, would you like to swing on a star?
Yeah.
Gary movie. Yeah, Bruce Willis and Danny Aiello, I just fucking love that movie. And the Bruce Willis persona, this is really the formative Bruce Willis. You know, this is the creation of Bruce Willis. We're witnessing before our eyes. It's a similar character that he has in Die Hard. In Blind Date, and it's a similar character that he has in Moonlighting as well. But this is really solidifying, crystallizing what Bruce Willis's performance for the next few years. And like you can see in later films, he kind of like tries to riff that up a little bit, like in Death Becomes Her, even in Moonrise Kingdom, The Sixth Sense. There's slightly different versions, but ultimately, I don't think he'll ever break this character. This character is going to live with him for the rest of his life.
Of course. As it should.
It's a good character. It's good stuff.
Well, this is the thing. It was a good character. I do feel like by the time 5 hit, like maybe it was the character's great. Maybe they just wrote him like shit.
I think they've ruined it now. I think, you know, like if he'd kind of like just stopped at Die Hard with a Vengeance, which was a fluke, you know, to have a third film that good. I think this would go down.
And I feel the same way, but with 4. Like I wanted 4 to be the swan song. I wanted 4 works for me because I thought it was the end.
God.
And
see, like we were talking before about trilogies that, you know, like films that have continued on and if they ever gotten better. Back to the Future stopped at 3, and I think it's great. Terminator kept going. It sucks. Die Hard kept going. It sucks. You know, like what's another trilogy that they just keep making movies from?
You know what's interesting though? Fast and Furious.
Keeps going,
and they do get better for what they are.
I haven't seen many of those.
You're missing out. You're half missing out.
I think John McTiernan is the unsung heroes of 80s action movies. He directed Predator. He directed this. I loved. He directed Hunt for the Red October, Die Hard with a Vengeance.
Predator, one of my favorite absolute action films of all time.
I think Predator's amazing. Predator holds up 100% today. Last Action Hero is a film that I think is hugely underrated.
Last Action Hero is fucking magic. And I remember when I was a kid, I hated it.
Yeah.
And then now I want to punch that version of me in the face because
it's so good.
It's very good.
The Thomas Crown Affair. Now, John McTiernan had I really like the Thomas Crown Affair remake.
It's okay.
I think it's pretty good. And the best use of Nina Simone, Ella Fitzgerald's Cinnamon. Is it Nina Simone or Ella Fitzgerald? I don't know. Anyway, John McTiernan had a really interesting career. Basically, in 2003, he was prosecuted for hiring hiring a private detective to like tap the phone of some of his producers that he was working with. I think it was on the movie Basic, and he was prosecuted and put in jail for it. And stopped his filmmaking career entirely. Didn't it strikes?
Man,
he's still around. I think after that,
he's out of jail by now. I'm sure
he's out of jail. He moved out of Hollywood to a farm in Minnesota or somewhere like that. He's basically living out there. I think he's announced that he's going to do another project. But he, in my mind, if his career had continued, and I think maybe if he'd had maybe one or two more formative hits, he might be up there with like James Cameron today. You know, like maybe not at that level. James Cameron kind of like transformed the world with Titanic, but
maybe.
But you know, like you love John Carpenter, for example.
Oh, God bless.
I have much more love for John McTiernan just because I know those films better, and I think John McTiernan is a director who makes action movies that are fun but never talks down to the audience. I don't think he ever blows. There are bad films in his filmography.
I think McTiernan.
He did Rollerball, which is like revered
That's
as
fucking awful. Some of the worst editing I've ever seen in a film.
Right.
I think if you want to talk the difference between John and John, right? John Carpenter and
John McTiernan.
John Carpenter.
They're different. They're different.
No.
You know
But this is why.
but you know how John Carpenter.
Let me finish what I was saying.
But just before you do that, I'm just saying basically.
No, wait, before you do that though,
you know how John Carpenter is kind of revered as like this guy who transformed horror. I think John McTiernan could be that guy for action movies.
I think he was that guy for action movies, but I think a John McTiernan film, I think, feels entirely complete in its own, like on its own. It stands by itself. You could see Predator by itself, no other film. You could see Die Hard by itself, no other film, and you'd be like, "This is a great film."
Right.
I think John
Predator was a sickened movie.
I know.
Oh,
John Carpenter, I think, got a little bit lost in his prestige, and I think that's where he sort of lost his footing.
Right.
Because when Ghosts of Mars hit, everything before Ghosts of Mars is fucking brilliant.
I saw Ghosts of Mars in the theater, and I was like, "Ooh, boy."
And then it just went to John Carpenter's vampires and all this other stuff, and it's just like
Quentin Tarantino has a theory about this. He says that every filmmaker, he thinks every filmmaker has about 10 films in them or so, 7,
and then it's done.
And then this is why Quentin Tarantino is going to quit filmmaking. You know, he's got like 2 films left, and he says, "I'm quitting."
That's smart
because he's like, I think no filmmaker has made great films up until the very last.
It's better to burn out than fade away.
Yeah, I don't know.
I truly believe that. Why would you want to keep? It's sequelitis. No, but we're talking about even sequels that we were talking about.
I think Quentin Tarantino is perhaps overthinking his career as a whole piece. Maybe that's great. Maybe that's a good thing, but I don't know.
I think more people look. I think the best stories are the ones that end.
Yeah.
and end on a note that you're happy with. So that includes careers. I mean, that's not taking anything away from these brilliant men and women that do this shit. Like, it's just don't keep doing it just to do it.
Right.
And eventually, time is gonna fucking ravage us all.
Right. It's ravaging me right now.
Every creative type, at some point your work is going to get worse. That's what it is.
Yeah.
So just like end on a high note. I mean, that's a Costanza-ism. But it's fucking true.
I guess so.
But anyway, we're going a little off topic, which is fine. Let's talk about someone else. Let's talk about another man in this movie.
Alan Rickman?
Yeah.
So this was his feature film debut.
I know.
Stalwart of the British theater scene came on to do this one role.
Fuck, he's so good, Hans Gruber.
Passed away recently, unfortunately.
Yeah, thanks 2016.
It wasn't 2000. I think it was like the year before.
Was it?
Yeah.
I'm still going to blame 2016.
Because 2016 was a shit year.
Yeah.
He owns this film in a way that, and the thing is, his performance haunts Die Hard with a vengeance. You know what I mean? Like, he's so good in this that it actually creates an echo in Die Hard with a Vengeance in Jeremy Irons' character.
You know what's funny? And we're going to jump around in this entire thing, but I completely forgot about the point in the film when they'd already been talking on the radio and they know each other, but they don't really know each other. Yeah. And then Hans is checking on the explosives on the roof and they meet and he acts like a hostage.
Yeah.
I had completely forgot about that. And I was like, this is amazing. And then he doesn't trust him and he gives him the unloaded gun and all that stuff. It was so fucking good.
See, that's great. That's such a great exchange of power in that scene.
There's so many, and I'm going to call them mini twists, and they're not twists for twist's sake. It's just like the audience. This is the thing. The audience, other than the terrorist plot, I'll say, is in on everything.
Right. We know what's happening.
We know what's happening. We are the eye in the sky, and we're watching characters figure it out.
Yeah.
And there's something, and that's a hard type of filmmaking to do and keep people engaged without the fucking mystery box.
You know what's funny is
And they pull it off 100%.
Oh yeah, like I said, there's only two moments in this movie. Well, one moment in this movie that I think is cheesy. One moment. In this
Which one? What's your cheesy moment?
My cheesy moment is the limo driver downstairs who's basically John McClane has been
picked up at the airport by Argyle.
By Argyle, he asks him to wait or Argyle offers to wait until he's decided where he's going to stay that night.
He's not sure if he's staying at his half ex-wife's house.
So for half the movie, Argyle is completely oblivious to the fact that there's a terrorist threat going on.
It's comedy relief. He's in the back of the limo, because it has like a VHS in it, and it has like all this stuff, and he's talking to people on the phone,
Yeah,
and
exactly.
whatever.
And he ignores it, and then in the second half of the movie, he realizes something bad is happening, and he's trying to figure out what to do. All of a sudden, one of the evil henchmen from Gruber's clan comes down and gets into an ambulance. And
as their getaway vehicle, they brought it in a truck.
And Argyle suddenly puts two and two together and figures out exactly what's happening, drives his car into
reason he does.
and then does like a punch into the face. And I'm like, that to me feels very 80s movies.
Sure, but also,
like,
you want to look at it from a story perspective, Argyle was listening on his CB as well. He was listening to the whole thing happen. He had it. There's scenes of him in it.
So the movie is making us like John McClane is a guy who steps up to being an action hero, but he's got the background in order to do that. Argyle is a kid driving a limo who's suddenly gonna
with balls of steel.
With balls. That was the one moment I was like,
I mean, I'll give it to you. I mean, I didn't care. I thought it was great.
I just think it's a moment that doesn't really hold up. Like I'm sure the first time I watched it and you're really trying to, like back in those days and you're trying to get the, you're trying to like wrap the story up and you're engaged in like the villains being caught and that kind of thing. I'm sure that moment probably was like, woohoo, Argyle had his moment. But ultimately, I think Argyle shouldn't get a moment.
Why not?
Everyone gets a moment in this film, and Argyle, unfortunately, is one who, like even Holly gets a moment, but her moment is earned, and her moment completely makes sense.
Argyle is the least developed character in the film.
He's the least developed character. And this is the thing. Every character is really well developed.
Yeah,
like,
with the exception of Argyle, every character. Even
the reporter. I understand exactly why the reporter is doing what he's doing.
Man, that's a precursor to fucking our lives now.
I mean, yeah, and that's the thing. It's a very prescient role, and like that character comes back in the sequel as well, doing the same shit, and it still makes sense. I love it. I even think the really smart thing that this film does is its henchmen. You understand the relationship between all the henchmen.
Yep. So you got their tech guy. You got what's the blonde dude's name? It was
Kyle.
Kyle.
Yeah. Tell Kyle's brother he's dead.
Yeah. Well, was Kyle's brother the one that was ho ho? Or now I have a machine gun ho ho.
Karl.
Karl.
Not Kyle. Yeah, it just and the fact that McClane took out Karl's brother,
yep.
And then
because McClane watched Gruber kill Takagi because he wouldn't give him the fucking password to the vault. So the plot the terrorists have is fucking smart.
Right.
So there's a giant safe and they want to get the bonds out of it. It's like $600 million worth of bonds, right?
Yeah.
So there's multiple types of locks, and the tech guy's like, I can take down the first computer lock, and then I have to drill through the next 5. That's going to take about 3 hours. And then the only thing is
maybe
left.
the duration of this movie.
Yeah. And then the electromagnetic lock is the last thing that he can't get through. And Hans doesn't reveal his last minute plan of that until later when the FBI shows up and does, quote, every move out of the terrorist playbook and cuts power to the building, which will be the only thing that has to be done from the outside. And it basically helps the terrorists break into the last part of the vault. I thought that that seems simple, right? But so many
doesn't seem simple. The way you just described it made it sound extraordinarily complicated.
But what I'm saying is this: so many other movies would try to do something like this and fuck it up, and have fucked it. It's just like
I think this is the movie by which that standard was set.
Right, and it does it so well. There, you want to talk about sort of. And we were talking about it before about the fourth one, and it's sort of the way it handles technology. Yes, I agree. It treats it like a 60-year-old person thinks the internet works. But this is it's just I appreciate in my Rock'em Sock'em movies intelligence, and everything in this film from a design perspective is incredibly intelligent.
Yeah, we have this conversation about what is fun in movies, and I find this is an incredibly fun movie because I don't think.
How do you like it then?
Yeah, there you go. But it's incredibly fun because, and I think because it doesn't treat those it's still trying to make a good movie and it's trying to entertain you, and it's not doing that at the expense of logic.
Action is still secondary.
Except, and for me, the only one moment is Argyle's moment. And then the other spectrum to think about it in is there's a line which the reporter says when he's delivering his like epic, Pulitzer-winning monologue, which is that Los Angeles has now become a city that joins the ranks of other cities that have been terrorized. And if you're thinking about like where the world was in 1988, the major event I'm thinking about is the bombing of the Munich Olympics, the Lufthansa bombing. The anxiety about terrorism being on American shores is like very, very much there, and this film exploits that to good effect. The thing that it does do that you could argue is problematic and interesting and worthy of devoted criticism is the way in which it sets up Americana versus the other. So the McClane is very much of the American tradition. He is steeped in Western mythology. He is well versed in the idea of what it means to be a hero. He is a father. He is quintessentially American, white, middle class,
divorced.
Quintessentially
only
American.
sees his kids in the holidays.
Yeah, exactly. The terrorists are,
but a good guy.
The terrorists are a ragtag band of others. They're foreign, they're well dressed, they're moneyed. Even the people that they're trying to attack, they're Japanese. I think now other films, like a film like True Lies, which was like 10 years later.
I love True Lies.
I do not like that movie. Falls into that trap that I think a lot of these movies do, which will date them, which is that it sets up the enemy as this sort of blank terror, blank other.
What Die Hard does great.
Die Hard does it very, very well, but I think it's the
subjects it. That's what I like about
subverts it.
I'm sorry. Yes. Yeah. Yep. Subverts it. My bad. It subverts it because Hans is most of the team is German. There's a couple other ethnicities sort of sprinkled in there, but you're right. They're quintessentially un-American.
Yeah.
And then when the people finally ask them, the police ask them what they want. They give this bogus list of like 9 different terrorist organizations, people they won't let out of jail. And even afterward,
Asian
Hans.
Dawn? I read about them. I
read about it in Time magazine.
Yeah.
It's this amazing thing because you're like, oh fuck, these people don't have ideology. They're in it for the fucking money, and they're using their ethnicity to confuse.
I don't know if it's their ethnicity. I just like the line that Holly has, which is that after all this posturing, you're nothing but a common thief. And he grabs her and he says, I'll have you know, I'm an exceptional thief.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. It's just, he uses the reason why I'm okay with it in this movie is because Hans and his team use it to their advantage.
Right.
And the story, and even more so, the film uses it to the story's advantage.
Yeah, I think, again, because
you're expecting something different.
The film is so well written and so well put together. It's such a well-constructed film, screenplay by Jeb Stewart and Stephen D'Souza, that it's smart enough to make, they never feel like throwaway characters. That's what, the thing with Karl and his brother, it never feels like a throwaway character. But it does, it's interesting because I think
Al outside, fucking Karl Winslow.
From Family Matters.
Yeah. I'm sorry, I'm blanking on the actor's name. It's what's it called? Oh, Reginald Val Johnson. Yeah,
great.
Sergeant Al Powell.
Yeah. I mean, and it becomes an iconic character. The guy who knows exactly what's in the Twinkies. I agree with you. I think this film does it smartly, but it's interesting to think about this film in the paradigm of the otherization, like the sense of like, this is America in our home base. We're at the Alamo and we're being attacked by the other, they're very much the other. I think a film that played with this idea sort of interestingly recently was Spike Lee's movie Inside Man, where, the idea, it seems like a terrorist attack, but it turns out to be something more nuanced than that. And I think if you look at movies of the 80s and 90s, they did fall into, I want to say they fell into the trap of stock ethnic villain. It's hard not to say Muslim terrorism was not the scapegoat of Western action movies.
100% was.
It's hard to say it was.
Yeah, it was. I'm saying it 100% was a scapegoat.
Yeah,
I'm agreeing with you.
Yeah. It's the scapegoat of Western action movies. And I think, that's one thing to just look out for in this film. But I think this, like you say, I think this film does it very smartly. And
like I said, remember how I said I like True Lies? Like I do like the film True Lies, but I do feel like it's a movie where it completely fails in this aspect. It's like, why do they call him the Sand Spider? Probably because it sounds scary. Yeah. Like it's just like
it's a stock villainy.
Yeah,
and I think and the reason why I think the film holds up is that it's not stock villainy, and I think that's why I like Die Hard 2 and Die Hard 3. You know, they don't. None of them feel like stock villainy. Die Hard 4 and 5. I'm like, oh, what's? It's all about John McClane.
Wasn't Timothy Oliphant was the villain in?
Yeah, he was the computer hacker. You know, like the fire sale guy.
God.
I think all of that stuff just really it holds up in this movie so well. It's exceptionally done. And you know, I can't think of many action movies that do it this well. I mean, you know,
Not of this genre. Again, I go back to Predator, and Predator has a lot to say about a lot of different things.
Predator's amazing.
But it's a different genre, obviously. It's more Predator's a more serious movie, even though it's silly.
I don't know if it's I don't know. I think
Predator
Predator is more
Predator's serious in the sense that there are scary parts.
Yeah, but Predator, I mean, again, John McTiernan, you know, like he's got such a command
He's a goddamn sexual Tyrannosaurus.
Oh, is that from Predator?
Yeah, that's what Jesse the Body Ventura says.
I just think he's, as a filmmaker, again, he's never looking to show off. He's not a techno wizard, you know, like trying to show you this cool shot that he's created. It's really about story.
Let's talk about the action now, because we were saying how great of a film this is outside of the action and how the action is secondary. It's 100% true, but the action in this movie is visceral.
Yeah.
It feels legitimate to the characters. No character's ever doing some fucking crazy move or thing other than Argyle.
No. But you know, yeah, go ahead.
Everything feels correct. Everyone's movements, everyone's actions. John McClane is scrappy and crawling through vents and trying to do shit and then being a smart ass with a dead body and like fighting with the chain and taping fucking guns to his back.
You know what's funny about everything you've just described? Nothing you've described feels like a set piece.
Yes, because they didn't. The story. Look, the story was developed, and then they're like, "How can we get John McClane out of this?" It wasn't like, "Oh my God,
we need
the vent sequence."
Yeah.
Now we need the unfinished lobby floor sequence.
What's interesting is that eventually the things that they set up in this film became iconic set pieces.
The exploding roof.
The exploding even the phrase "yippee-ki-yay," which became his catchphrase, became a symbol for the movie. So to me, in the second and third movie, that yippee-ki-yay loses its value a little bit because it's self-referential and it becomes an icon.
Yeah, and the reason he says it is because Hans is calling him a cowboy.
He's calling him a cowboy, which is again why I point to that Western. Why I think the film is.
I think that's the only tie it really has to because
the thing about the Western is it reminds me of The Searchers a little bit in the way that film treats the other as well.
I mean, maybe I think as far as a Western, it's just the dude from out of town coming and stopping the bad guy.
Coming on, stopping into that little town.
Right, called Nakatomi Plaza.
Stopping
in the Old West.
In the Old West. I mean, the thing about the Western as a genre is the Western as a genre can be transported. You could argue Aliens is a Western in space.
Aliens,
yeah. Like it's the Last Stand at the Alamo.
But the Last Stand of the Alamo, I don't think that's a Western. So I mean, it is obviously it's a Western. But what I'm saying is that's not a definitive thing of what a Western is. That's an Alamo-esque. That's a Last Stand type movie.
I think one of the arguments about in the academia around Westerns has been this idea of frontierism. Westerns are ostensibly about breaking ground in the frontier. And protecting ground in the frontier as well. And I think
something that's more akin to a Western, honestly, and I know you haven't seen it all or most of it or whatever, is Cowboy Bebop. I think Cowboy Bebop is
in the title alone.
But you know what I mean? But that is that's a space Western.
Right.
Even Firefly to a point is a space Western.
I think Battlestar Galactica to an extent.
I haven't seen it, so I can't say.
There's an extent.
I just lost a ton of nerd cred with you guys. I'm so sorry.
No, the academic, again.
I wasn't apologizing to you.
Oh, good. Well, fuck you then. The academic, theory is that science fiction and space exploration movies are an extension of the Western.
Yeah. Although Star Trek, I would say, is not.
I don't know. I think
Star Trek is politics. Except for Voyager, which is fucking weird.
Is politics a subset of the Western genre, or is politics its own ideological thing?
Because politics is what you do after.
How does the Venn diagram of this work?
Politics is the thing you do after you settle something. Otherwise, it's just settling it. It's
But
the West.
doesn't the Western have that as well? Like once you settle, like
No, because it's got like a mayor, and then you shoot him, and then you're a mayor.
No,
Like it doesn't. That doesn't fucking work. It's not like parliamentary hearings and shit.
I think it works. If you look at a film like Rango that came out a couple of years ago, which is a
fun.
Western, but it has a lot of politics in it. It's the politics, and Chinatown. But
Chinatown's not a fucking Western.
I think Chinatown, like, so
There's nothing frontierish about Western.
The
about
reason
Chinatown.
the reason I said Chinatown was because that Rango is a riff on Chinatown, and I think
okay, I can see that. But
and I think the thing is that this idea of frontierism extends. I guess obviously if you take this argument to its logical extension, anything could be a Western. But
I'm disagreeing with that.
But I think that this film takes the iconography of Westerns, and I think it does have something to say about holding our ground. And there's something very distinct, uniquely Americana about
that's what I was going
movie.
to say. This movie takes Americana and Western, and the John Wayne type person is a part of that. It's not the whole thing. It's also the brash, like sort of tough guy that's also super quippy. Like it's Westerns are about sort of like stoic power, and you're standing against incredible odds and yada yada yada. And yes, there's aspects of that in Die Hard, but Die Hard has another aspect of it, which America is brash and it thinks it's the smartest thing in the room, and it's going to let you know how silly you are for ever doubting it. Like it's yes, there's part Western, but there's part something else. It's 80s Americana, which it came from the Western originally, but now it's layers. It's an onion. It's an onion like an ogre.
I think that using the paradigm of the Western is just an interesting way to view the film. And I think for me, with all the talk of John Wayne, I think it kind of works for me. But it references
it. That's what I'm saying. It's
you're saying it just references it. It's not it.
Yes.
And I think,
and there's aspects in it, because otherwise, why would the characters be referencing it? Of course.
Yeah.
But the fact just because it's so on the nose, I think it's just a smaller piece.
I think what you're saying is correct. It's an adaptation of the Western format into
and
recontextualizing into
calling it out itself, which is fine.
Yeah.
And I like it when movies, and it's not fourth wall breaking at all. I think it's just
this movie does not break any fourth wall.
I like it when in a realistic film, or realistic, but you know what I mean, like in a movie set in our reality, that it references things that people would know.
Right.
Westerns are in this case, it's Westerns.
Yeah.
I don't mind it when people, even in movies that do it far less tactful than this film, reference a cultural touching point that characters would know, and make a joke about. Like that to me grounds it. Even when done poorly, I'll take it.
Right.
And this movie does it just fucking smooth as butter.
Yeah, I mean, I know we've kind of harped on about how good it is, but it is, as far as the action film goes, it really is an important touchstone in that genre.
Yeah.
Other little details I love. I love the character building that happens in this film with every single character.
Sure.
Particularly, who's the swarmy sort of coke snorting?
Oh, Harry?
Was it Harry?
Yeah, it was. Hold on, I have it here. It is Harry Ellis.
Harry Ellis. I love like
Hans.
Yeah, Hans.
Boubie.
And
that moment of tension when it's funny. You think Harry's going to be a scumbag, right? You think he's going to sell out John because he wants to sleep with Holly.
Yeah.
And which he does want to sleep with Holly, but he's just actually
not sure why as well. Not to say like
because he's the 80s douchey jock bad guy thing.
Yeah, but I'm not like she's a mother of two with a divorce.
She's also hot as fuck.
Is she?
Yeah.
Is she?
Yeah.
Is she?
Yeah.
Little Matt Kroll didn't watch that and think that woman was a mom.
No, because you never
Really?
see her with the kids. See pictures, but who cares? She's gonna be a MILF. It doesn't matter.
Oh, it's so weird. I just didn't frame her in that way.
No, she is fucking gorgeous. I think
she's a very attractive woman. Don't get me wrong.
No, 100%. And
are we having a conversation where we're asking the question, "Would you fuck her?" Is that what we're doing? Because I think our podcast has then jumped off the rail.
This is what I'm saying about her, and this is something I didn't like. Let's put it back in the rules. Let's actually let us be sensitive about some shit. This movie does fall into a couple of shitty tropes of the 80s and the action movie genre, like random topless girl for no fucking reason because people are fucking at the beginning of a holiday party.
Very 80s.
Yeah, it's like, oh, there's the obligatory fucking tit shot.
There's also a very attractive girl in the airport.
Yeah. But it's funny, like now you look at it. And like back when I was younger, like that was like when I was 14 or whatever. Well, I saw this when I was 21. But when movies did this, I was always like, ooh, and now I'm just looking at it, I'm just like, shut the fuck up.
Yeah, I remember like in my teenage brain, there's a scene from Predator 2 where you saw some nipple that like is emblazoned in my
because it's the first time. I get that. But this something that pissed me off. So speaking of Holly, the character of Holly, as the movie goes on, her shirt, her blouse slowly gets more unbuttoned. Not to the point of gratuity, but to the point where I'm like, why the fuck is this happening?
Right.
And I was watching it and for as attractive as I remember, even when I was like 21 or even now, as I think she is, that threw me out because I'm like, motherfucker, like, why can't this woman just be fucking awesome and strong and attractive? And she's been that the entire time. And now at the end, when Hans has her by the arm, like her blouse is open, I'm just like,
I get that, but I think the film also does a good job of like, you can see why she has a relationship with John McClane, even though
100%. Well, that's what I'm saying. They do a great. Her character is built and constructed with a lot of love and care, and then they do shit like that at the end, and I'm like, motherfucker, like, stop, like, just fucking, just be a character. You don't need to go to the next fucking trope,
right?
So I don't know.
I don't think it.
I'm trying to think of other small things I had problems with it. I'm trying to, like, because there's not a lot. That was one.
So the thing that I really enjoyed is, again, I watched this with my mom.
You hate Argyle.
I don't hate Argyle. I just
hate Argyle.
His character is very much like,
because he's driving a limo. I know it. You hate service workers. I understand.
I do. I have a thing. I don't tip my waiters, people. But I watched this with my mother-in-law, and I was like, I'm going to watch Die Hard right now. And she was like, I don't even remember that movie. And then she was watching it, and the scene that you described earlier with Hans Gruber and John McClane meeting, when it started happening, she goes, oh no, he's going to kill him. And she was like, oh no, don't give him the gun. She started talking to the screen, and she was like, really, she was just like,
into it.
She was just getting into it, like, and you're talking about a person who's watched action movies, dozens of action movies since then as well. But like just watching this one again, she was like, oh, I forgot that this was happening.
That's a testament to character building. That's all that is.
Yeah.
Because if that was any other fucking movie that didn't take the care with its characters, she wouldn't have given a shit.
No, she really got into it. And that gave me a special thrill to watch her get into it.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, we could get into final thoughts if it's time for that. I mean, I think we all know it.
Well, yeah, we obviously know. The only other thing I would say is things that I like, little details that I actually thought were really great was like the leitmotif of Beethoven's Ninth in this film. Like,
oh, music. Okay, yeah. Sorry, I had to think about music.
Oh, just the way that they use Beethoven's Ninth. Like Hans is humming it once. It plays in the theme of the film. In the actual score very subtly, and then it becomes towards the end of the film it becomes like a big thing. What did you want to say about me?
I don't know if you noticed this, but in addition to that, in addition to a lot of the classical music, a lot of it was just super dark tone Christmas music.
Right. Yeah. It was
a lot of it. With like really low droning sounds, but it was still Jingle All the Way. I'm trying to think of the other
Christmas. It's a Christmas song. Yeah.
But like 3 or 4 of them, and it cycled through, but it's just like, and I'm like, this is fucking great. And that was another reason why I was like, yeah, Christmas.
It reminds me of Johan Johansson's score for Sicario, that really drone heavy kind of score.
Sure, but with like Rudolph and Frosty.
And then, okay, so the moment, before we get I guess we're going to get into our final thoughts in a second, but the moment that I think you could argue is the embodiment of the Christmas spirit in this movie.
Oh, yeah.
Is I love that every character in this film gets a story. And Al's story is, I haven't raised my gun because I once shot a kid, and they teach you everything in training, but not how to deal with a mistake like that.
Yeah.
So I've never raised my gun since. And at the very end of the film, Karl inexplicably comes back, got
after
a gun.
being hung.
Yeah, and the Christmas miracle that happens, Al pulls his gun and fires a bullet straight into the heart of Karl. And that's the Christmas miracle is Al.
That's funny.
Al got to use his gun. So that's the only thing I could point to as like the spirit of Christmas. And it's an odd spirit of Christmas. I don't think you could argue the spirit of Christmas in this movie. Again, that's an arbitrary framework with which I've decided that defines Christmas movies. I
mean, I don't know if I fully am on board, but I like, if you're giving it to me, I'll take it.
Yeah. You could argue that the fact that John McClane survives and it keeps going from situation to situation and surviving, is a testament to the spirit of Christmas. But I don't really think that if this is a Christmas movie, this is the atheist Christmas movie. Like, I don't think it's a
Jingle All the Way is the Atheist Christmas movie.
Well, there can be more than one.
It's turbo time.
Could you imagine Arnold Schwarzenegger in this movie?
No.
Really?
No one but Bruce Willis at this point.
The thing is, I can imagine it, and I think it would be a lesser movie.
Yeah, 100%.
You know, like, and I think that's the great thing that they do is that they use the characters.
The whole thing is subversion.
Yeah.
And then it redefined it because it was so good.
But it's also, you know, like they went through like 10 to 15 leading men before they landed on Bruce Willis. And I think when they did, they were like, okay, what are we going to do to make this work for this actor? You know, and it didn't feel out of place for it. So I think I just think it's great for that. I do love this movie. I love how tightly constructed it is, how well it plays story before action. That's
yeah.
You know, and
I agree.
mean, if you go back to we're what 80 episodes into this podcast now. The very first film we did was Mad Max Fury Road, and the thing about Mad Max Fury Road, even though that is filled with eye popping, I've done amazing things. It is story before action. Story drives action. And that's what's so great about Die Hard. And that's why if you love Matt, you should send him a Blu-ray copy of Die Hard.
I mean,
Merry Christmas, Matthew.
Thanks. Thanks for telling people to buy a gift for me. And you should send Shahir.
See, I did something because I knew you'd like it.
I'm trying to think of something you'd like. You should send Shahir a Blu-ray of the trilogy of the guy who made Boyhood.
Before Sunrise, Before Sunset. They just announced the Criterion Collection.
There you go. See? That's on your list. So that's what you should do.
If you want to like us, you can get Matt the Die Hard trilogy and get me the Before Sunrise trilogy.
Sure. Or you could just leave us a review on iTunes. We'd really appreciate that.
I cut you up before your final thoughts.
My final thought is fucking Die Hard's the best, and you should watch it. And the only problem with Die Hard I have is that I didn't see it till I was 21.
Yeah, that sounds like more like a you thing than a.
That's the only problem I have. Yeah, that's fine. Shahir,
spoken like a true Matt Kroll.
Yeah, see? So this has been the only podcast about the film Die Hard. Shahir, when you're not coming out to the coast and we're getting together and having a few laughs, where can folks find you?
You can find me at shahirdaud.com. That's SHAHIRDAUD. Matt, where can we find you?
You can find me at a website with my name, MatthewKroll.com, KROL. Also a Skeletor, the number 4, PREZ on Instagram, and Emperor, MSK on Twitter. Don't forget to check out onlymoviepodcast.com and write us in at onlymoviepodcast@gmail.com and tell us what you think of Die Hard. If there's someone out there that doesn't like Die Hard, write in.
Yeah, we want to know about this.
And then we'll call you Scrooge.
We will go to your house
tonight. If you're listening to this at Christmas, it's gonna be like we're gonna come down the chimney.
Yeah,
but we're gonna use magic. We're gonna use John McClane magic,
and we're gonna sit you down and make you watch Die Hard, Die Hard 2, Die Hard with a Vengeance.
Yeah.
Merry Christmas, everybody.
Merry Christmas, happy holidays, guys. Thank you so much for listening and for keeping us in your spirits even throughout this time of merriment and joy that you normally reserve for your families.
I know. We're kind of your family.
We're kind of your film. We're your cinematic family. Happy holidays, everybody.
Die Hard.